I didn't realize how bad my health actually was. So I had the reverse of anorexia where I'm like, I'm fat, I'm fine, I'm good. Inflamed, my cells weren't good. Like it just wasn't good, right? So I was carrying a lot of weight and then they look at your height, your frame, and I was like, this is not good. I decided to just stop getting rid of my excuses. I need to make a change. I've lost 22 kilos now. I ran 2 marathons this year.
What's this in the toolkit? To work consistently, consciously, and putting time and effort to work on yourself.
Reflection has become a great tool for me. Resilience and grit, that's a big one. You are going to fail, and that's fine.
Organizations are embracing the idea of AI, using different tools, different large language models. How are you using AI in your own personal business?
So it's a productivity tool. It's great for, brainstorming, generation of ideas, but again, it still needs that human element to drive it in a different direction.
How do you define content creation and publishing?
If you are going to use it to, generate your own content in any way, shape or form, have a strong branding, podcasting, and fitness.
Before we get started, please subscribe so that you never miss an episode of our cutting-edge contemporary conversations. Thank you.
Welcome, Tracy. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, Dev.
Thank you. It's not always I sit with a fellow podcaster.
Yes, it's an honor.
and that's why I'm having that nerves that, I need to be more fun today. Talking about fellow podcaster, I think, can you tell me your journey to being a podcaster, or thinking of having conversations and a yarn?
Sure. So the podcast idea was probably born about 2 years ago. I'd been a guest on quite a few, and then I have this thing, right, where I believe the universe speaks to us 3 times. So 3 core people in my life. It says, Tracy, start your own one. I thought, no, not a chance. There is no way too nervous, way too out of my comfort zone. And I heard this message 3 times and I was like, right, that's a sign from the universe. I need to do this. So I have my branding agency and it was one of my designers and my business advisor and my husband at the time said, Trace, just do it. So pretty much I taught myself how to, set up the podcast, which platforms to use, all the late night typing and that, and bought a really shitty mic, copped a lot of grief for that. And it was basically to showcase that business owner roller coaster that we so bravely ride every single day. It's not for the faint-hearted. And I've met so many wonderful business owners on my journey over the last 5 years. So just really wanted to put them in the spotlight and bring their stories, to light so everyone can learn. And I thought if the podcast just changes one person's life, that's my job done. And it was nerve-wracking. Oh my goodness, sweaty face, shaking. But we just recorded episode 100 recently, which was great. So it's just become this incredible abundance giving thing for everyone. I guess, I've got leads and other podcast opportunities, and I often get messages where people have said, I heard so-and-so's podcast today. It's just what I needed for where I'm at in my life. So that's kind of where we're at.
Lovely. So. I think you would know that number, that I think top 2 or 3% podcasters have more than, 30 plus episodes.
Yes, so someone said that,
So you are in that, top percent of the podcasters.
Yeah, thank you.
Because
I didn't even know that.
I think people drop too early.
So I've heard.
The consistency is, people will do 1 season or 2 seasons and it'll drop.
Yeah.
And I think consistency is the gig, and probably you get the right, I think the sweet spot is, 500 number.
Right,
podcast.
right.
And then, then it goes more high volume.
Does it?
The exponential
Okay,
growth.
I see.
And that's a sweet spot I've seen and observed across many other people who are doing very well.
Yeah.
They're doing this full time.
Yes.
We are not doing this full time.
No, it feels like it's sometimes, it's just like having another business, right? Because it's so much work, and I'm so impressed with your setup. It's absolutely beautiful. I know the hard yards, the time, the cost, everything that goes into having this. I often get amused. Someone's like, I'll start a podcast. I'm like, have you thought about the hard work?
It's about, somebody might see the whole well set up, well-looking setup, but it's the incremental growth. So every time you would reset your setup, you have some incremental change. That incremental change creates that perfection with time.
Yeah.
So you will not be able to produce on somebody who wants to start tomorrow or yesterday. It won't produce the whole highest
polished,
one. But it's their own journey. And as you said, it's the journey of a small business owner. So coming to that one, do you mind sharing the story from being a young girl?
Yeah, sure.
And the idea, and being the eldest child.
Yes.
So what was that?
Wow. So are you asking where my kind of entrepreneurial journey started? Or?
And just, as a young girl, you're learning those skills at a very younger age. What kind of skills which you have brought into your work?
So I am the oldest of 3 children, always I'm the guinea pig. I guess you naturally step into that leadership role being the oldest. And I've always been a creative, like all of my life. So I started drawing it too. My mom's got a drawing of spiders. I don't know why I drew spiders because I can't stand them. I mean, they serve a purpose, sure, but they give me the heebie-jeebies. So yeah, mom's got this drawing. She's like, I knew from that day you're going to be a famous artist and you're going to be in the creative space. So creativity has always been woven into my life. So throughout school, throughout uni, I've studied art. I love drawing people. I did painting. I then studied visual arts through my degree in jewelry design, and had a short break for 2 years, flew with an airline, and then I moved over to Perth and I studied graphic design and branding, and then was employed for a number of years, and then decided to bite the bullet after COVID and start my own business full time. I've always had a side hustle since I was 8 years old. I've always sold something. So it's just a calling that I feel like I've always had in my life. So,
what have you been selling from a young age?
Well, so the first round was more like a service offering, shall we say. So I have shared the story a number of times, but I wanted to get my ears pierced. Dad's very traditional, part Greek, part Italian man. So he said, if you want it done, you have to pay for it yourself. So schemed up a plan. For every bucket of weeds that I weeded out of the garden, I get 2 rand. I mean, at that time, to pierce your ears was like 28 rand. So I got my brother on board, paid him 1 rand. He was great because he didn't pull the weeds out properly. So they were back like, a couple of days later. And I saved the money there. So I had my ears pierced, which was great. So Dad couldn't say no. And then I started selling my art at the age of 12. So my mom's friends would commission me, and as kind of word of mouth spread, it was great. I've loved socialising and meeting people from a very young age. So mom and dad would give us pocket money, which was not enough sometimes, my own doing. So I would earn extra money by selling my art and, doing little jobs around the house. And bless mom and dad, they always gave us pocket money so we could do things. But again, my early networking days started quite early on in life. So that helped me go to the movies and, hang out with friends and all those things that I love doing.
And how has those skills in terms of networking and the hustle come to use in your work now?
In every way. So I guess the early socializing, meeting people, having that thing where you can talk to anyone, like with networking through my business, that's become such a skill to have. I like to think I've become quite a connector naturally, which is great. So I'm always kind of seeing who I can connect with who and what opportunity might result as, might come from that connection. In terms of my business skills, I guess, making some cash, putting a margin on things. So I used to sell lollipops in my high school years with my backpack. And I think the lunchroom sold them for like 2 rand 50. So I went to Macro, which is like Costco, bought a big tub of, 50 or whatever it was. And I think they cost me maybe 20 cents a lollipop. Then I sold them for 2 rand. So I've always been mindful of that kind of, that margin that you put on and just always making sure that I was making profit, even though I had really no idea what I was doing. But yeah. So yes, all those skills, and even my visual arts degree, my graphic design studies. At the time, I kind of thought, I've studied, visual arts for 5 years. I'd done a lot of like religious study, art history. I'd majored in, drawing and painting, jewelry design. So I always thought I kind of wasted my time with that. But in my business, it's kind of all come together really beautifully, which is great.
Were you into jewelry designing before, or have you done that professionally?
Yes, I have. So I studied, as part of my degree, I studied how to make jewelry. So the traditional sense and then the contemporary style. So we'd mixed traditional methods with resin, and you kind of chose which path you wanted to go down. And then after I finished my studies, I worked at Rowan Jewelers as a designer. And then through my own business, so I've got Design Studio Perth, The Real Biz Life Chronicles, and then Trace Designs Bespoke is my bespoke jewelry line. So that's about 5% of my life, where we do a lot of remodeling. We source bespoke. It's all bespoke. So we get gemstones in, diamonds. Someone gets an array or selection to choose from, and then I do the drawing, and then I have a jeweler that makes for me. So there's only 24 hours in a day, right? So yeah.
Good fun life.
Yeah.
So I think, what's the common thread between these three entities across? Is it the creatives? Is it that you want to be the spider you are?
Yeah, actually, well, that makes a lot of sense now.
So is that the spider coming back to have as many as?
I think the common thread is definitely creativity, being that creative for my whole life. But I think it's also that human connection and really bringing that bespoke side to things. So through my branding agency, we do custom branding. Through my podcast, it's like a custom, it's a podcast it's a one-off. I just love that uniqueness side of things. With my jewelry as well, it's custom design. There's always like a one-off component to it. So I mean, if you think of branding, we never do the same brand for another client. So I just love that uniqueness side of things. Yeah. Great question. I've never been asked that before.
And in the creative side of it, and in the design work, people use branding and marketing from a point of view of, let me have a bit more nuance, try to reflect their own style.
Yeah.
But sometimes in terms of advising clients when they are trying to have their own brand onto their business brand, which is two different things.
Yes.
And business brand might attract a different demographic, different audience. So how is that, those conversations you have, those difficult ones when you have to tell the clients that, you are trying to reflect yourself too much on the brand rather than the brand on its own itself?
Yeah. So with branding, there's two things that are happening. So you've got a business brand and a personal brand. Generally, what we advise our clients is that if they do want to have a personal brand, you start with the business brand, but you kind of plug into that. So that's what I did with Design Studio Perth. Business brand, Tracy Fry is in that brand. And it's got to a stage now where I can separate it because you've got that audience from that business brand that you can leverage off in your personal brand. A personal brand is also great when someone like myself, you've got three different, a podcast, a branding agency and jewelry, and a personal brand can really bring that together because you haven't just got one part to your business, it's an empire that you build in. It also gives that flexibility. If you want to invest in a different path, it falls under what would be Tracy Fry or whatever the person's name is. So we do have to be mindful in the crossover. So in terms of content, you don't want to post the same thing on, I'm just going to use myself as an example, Tracy Fryer and your business. So you have to be very mindful of what you're posting on there because, again, I always go back to what's the intention and who is the ideal client. So a lot of business owners, they create their business brand around them. But the idea of branding is that it's a tool to grow your business. So you have to look at who is it that I'm serving? Do I have one ideal client or do I have two? And then all your brand, your marketing is based off that person. When it comes to personal brand, again, it is around oneself, but again, what's the intention? Do you want to do more public speaking? Are you trying to move more into a coaching space? So then you'd have an ideal client there. So it could be, female business owners who are in startup, just an example. So you have to figure out what the intention is because otherwise you're just kind of doing things haphazardly and hoping for the best, but there's no intention or plan behind what you're doing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. And then from a point of view of when people are on a journey on, the organization is fairly mature and it's been to it's a case study, for example.
Sure.
Fairly mature, been there for the last 10 years. They have this branding and which works well and which has been working well for the audience. But some people, you would see that they just do the idea of branding for the sake of branding.
Yeah.
What do you see those things? Because sometimes people just change things.
They do. Again, it goes back to that intention. So what I have noticed is business is hard, right? So people sometimes think if I freshen up my visual identity, which is one component of brands, my logo, it's going to give me a different result. And whilst branding, if done with a strategy, it can, but there's a few different components when it comes to a business. So you have to really look at the bigger picture. What is it I'm trying to achieve? Because branding forms part of that, but just refreshing your logo is not going to give you any different outcome in terms of if your business strategy stays the same, right? So when it is a mature business, we always have to go through a discovery phase because, again, different agencies work very, very differently. In order for us to help our clients grow with distinction through captivating brand and design, we really have to understand where it is that, where they are at that point in time. For example, we had a client, incredible business owner, 6 different businesses, all branded differently. And what was happening is that his empire was looking a lot smaller, than what it should be. And through the discovery phase, we saw common veins between the different businesses, scaled it right back to having the 3 different parts of his business and branded it as his surname. But that worked in that instance. So again, just be mindful if you are thinking of using your family name, it has to work for your ideal client or your business setup, right? But that was an example where we kind of refined everything, established an empire brand, and then you go to the marketing side of things. And the analogy I love to use is it's like dating, right? So marketing is asking someone on that date, and brand is the reason they say yes. So if we rock up, to our date, or we want to get asked on a date, crawled out of bed, hair mess, we're probably not going to get asked on that date. So we always have to look the part. Branding is a perception. Where a lot of people, another thing I see is, and sometimes this isn't the business owner, this is a different agency, will go straight to that website, but they've done no core brand strategy. They haven't looked at who the ideal client is. And then what happens, we get a website that just sits there, doesn't generate leads, doesn't do anything for the business, and someone could have spent up to 30 grand on it. So yeah.
Wow. Can I also ask,
Sure.
how has your purpose of life, or purpose as in soul purpose,
Sure.
evolved across your life, and what are the core values do you believe in?
So in terms of my purpose, I think I've always been very driven. I've probably defined that more as I've got older. It's, my core purpose is to show mediocrity the middle finger, and I try to do that on a regular basis. I've never conformed. I've always kind of done my own thing. I've never been one who's tried to fit in some ways. My core value, and I know it's a bit generic, but is always authenticity, to always be honest. At Design Studio Perth, we want to lead the way. It's always to be the best, right? And I think if you're not trying to be the best at something, or you're not trying to do it 100%, why even bother? But that's my philosophy, right? So if you want to, run a marathon, start training and do it. But again, that's just me, right?
It's a good segue from there to marathon. Off the camera, we were talking about your journey on health and well-being.
Yes.
Before we go on the journey, can you tell me what was the trigger to say, okay, yes, I have to do something
About my health?
Yes, on this journey on health and well-being, what was that moment of inflection?
So again, business will take you on a journey where you meet various people at different times of your life, and always think when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I met an incredible man, Paul Clarkson. He became my advisor, and I think I had the reverse of anorexia, where I didn't realize how bad my health actually was. Right? I'm like, I'm fab, I'm fine, I'm good. Anyway, so how it happened, quite a funny story, is I started working with Paul as my advisor, and then one day he said, Trace, have you tried almond milk? And I was like, no, why? I'm fine. And he's like, no, just give it a go. Long story short, I tried almond milk, and through that, trying almond milk and Paul just opened my mind to what it meant to actually be a health conscious business owner. He connected me with an incredible lady, Paloma Hitami from My Gene, had my genes read. And anyway, again, long story short, she gave me a roadmap for my body, what actually would work for me. So you do a saliva swab, and they give you, there's all these different indicators. And for the first time, because I tried all these other things to lose weight or just feel healthier, I had a roadmap that worked for my body, and I just thought, something has to change. So I gave up alcohol probably about 1.5 years before that, which was a life changer. And I decided to just stop getting rid of my excuses. I have a team that look up to me. How can I, if I'm not leading by example, how can I expect anyone else to do anything, in business, life, whatever the case may be. That was, probably about 2 years ago now. So just started going to the gym. The mistake I'd make is I'd always put gym, on hold till the end of the day because we just go into this negotiation with our mind the minute we wake up. So I started going in the morning. I started implementing like a morning routine where I journal, pray, go to gym, go for that run. And I slowly started building it up. Like I didn't go 7 days a week straight off the bat. It was a slow, like you mentioned earlier, incremental changes, got to that. I just started feeling so much better. And I think the better I felt, the more I just wanted to keep going. And so I've lost 22 kilos now. I ran 2 marathons this year.
Wow.
Made the mistake of, running. Again, a great friend of mine, Maljoli, she introduced me to running because I told myself I've never, I'm not a runner. But anyway, I thought, I'm going to go against that story and I'm going to go. She invited me to park run. And so the mistake I made was I went from 0 to 5Ks in 2 weeks. I don't recommend that. You will get cankles. So stripped it right back. Again, it's a journey. So stripped it right back, slowly started like just running from my house to the corner of the street, just that slow change, right? And slowly worked my way up. And then after I kind of got to that 10K mark, started adding another K or 2 every weekend. So Sunday long run, it's a thing. And then, end of December last year, I just thought, I'll do a marathon, had a moment. It's a great idea. And then, ran my first one in April, which was quite an experience. And then did Rock Nest in June as well. So,
Wow.
yeah.
On the question of what was the reason you thought that you should be doing it? What was the moment that you said, I need to change, but what was the trigger for that moment?
In terms of my health journey?
Yeah.
I think it was when I got that plan, I realized, because it actually tells you like what you're deficient in, where you kind of, where you're failing. And I was like, right, I need to, I think I just had so many excuses. I thought I need to make this change. I've made the investment in myself. There's the cost to have this plan done up. And I was like, I need to just give it a go because I think everything else I tried, if I look back now, is probably done, I'm allowed to say half-assed. Like I wasn't fully committed. So I thought, I'm going to commit to this. I need to make a change. I was, they look at different things. So on a biological side, or I was it sounds terrible, sorry, overshare, inflamed, my cells weren't good, like it just wasn't good, right? I was carrying a lot of weight and then they look at your height, your frame, and I was like, this is not good. So I thought if I don't change, like I'm just gonna get more of the same. So I decided that I need to make a change. And it was just a moment, like a light bulb moment. It was when I stopped drinking. I think God spoke to me and said, Tracy, I need to make a change. So, and that was literally as I pulled into my garage and I was like, right, it's on. So that was it.
And from that idea of being driven, how does your body has, picked up from point of view of, not running at all to running a marathon? What kind of changes have you seen beyond the weight? What kind of changes have you seen from point of view of your mindset, your body muscles, your movement, your flexibility, all those things? What kind of changes you have seen in that journey of last 2 years?
Great question. So from a physical point of view, I had to buy a whole new wardrobe, which was incredible. I mean, I think when you have a goal and then you finally get there, it almost feels a bit surreal. So that was really cool. Obviously lost a lot of weight. It's incredible how your face changes. One of my clients, they coach women on how to stop drinking. And she did this post about, when you are drinking, your face is, I thought, what a load of nonsense. Anyway, and that app that's got you can put 2 photos alongside each other. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, that's why I say I think I had the reverse of anorexia because you don't realize how bad you actually look, right? So that was the physical side of things. You start feeling so much more centered and just so much more confident. And I think the one thing with doing this journey, going through this journey for the last 2 years, it's something I've achieved and no one can ever take that away from me. And it just builds this resilience within yourself. So the long run, especially, because if you're running 30, 35 Ks, there's some pain associated with that. So I think also challenging those stories, like the script I have now is if I start telling myself a story that I can't do something, I'm like, well, screw that. I'm going to give it a go and see if that, I'm going to prove that story wrong. So that was with the running. It gives you this resilience. And I think that plugs in really well to business. It just gives you this resilience, confidence, grit to keep going. And again, I think through working with Paul, he really helped me see that, like the two are so interconnected, right? It's just dealing with that, business owners, yes, it's rewarding and it's great, but there's a certain amount of pain associated with business, so as with physical fitness. So I think it just gives you that resilience to push through. And I find running very meditative. Like it's very cathartic.
And that's why, is this just a journey on health, or is it a journey of health and well-being?
Health and well-being, definitely. Yeah, it's been both for me. I think it's... I guess your health is associated with your well-being, but yeah, so...
Your mental health as well.
Mental health, yeah. It's had a profound impact on my mental health. Giving up alcohol was one of the best decisions I ever made. It's no brain fog. You wake up feeling fresh. You can, you've got the day. You get an extra 6 hours back of the day, especially if you have a hangover. The days are right off and you eat fast food. So that was kind of one of the first things that started alongside. Well, actually, that was kind of the first start when I gave up drinking, and then I kind of had my genes read. But just that clarity that you get, not, actually being fully present. Life is so short. Being present with someone and not being, 5 glasses of Prosecco deep and not really paying attention to what someone's saying. So just being fully present with that person at that time.
And has that impacted your relationships with your family?
Huge. I lost some friends because of it, but that's fine. I realized all we had in common was drinking. But with my family, it's a lot better. Being present at, Christmas Day, Easter, birthdays, it's just strengthened everything.
And with the same intent of, have a strong purpose of being driven all the time, every time.
24/7.
24/7. The out of the battery. The energized all the time.
Yeah.
If you have to observe the journey, similar journey, that because it's a marathon of 100 episodes of podcasting, and how is the evolution in terms of the way you see a conversation, the way you interact, the way you land a question, the way you observe the body language of your guests, all those things. How is that evolution for you across for the first one to the 100th episode of your podcast?
Wow. I fully underestimated the journey that you take someone on. And I think I can say the same for my business. Like, it's such a journey that you're taking someone on in that podcast, and just that emotional journey. And it's funny you asked, because I was a guest on my 100th podcast on my show. So Paul Clarkson interviewed me, and it was a real, flip being in the seat for a change. And it actually made me realize even more so what I ask of someone when they come on the show, because, you're sharing part of your soul, your journey, and but again, through those conversations, we can always inspire someone else to, to change a decision in their lives. So fully underestimated that journey that I take someone on. And just also like certain questions can trigger things within someone. So it's really made me a lot more mindful of that process that I take someone on.
And what was the evolution on the length of conversations? How has that increased or reduced or stayed the same?
No, we've pretty much kept it the same. So with the exclusive episodes, they go about 2 hours, but majority of the time it's around 45 to an hour. I'm also mindful, like majority of people are time poor. So I kind of think if it's an hour, that's a good kind of time frame. Some people might only listen for half an hour, but we generally try and keep them in that time. If it's a great conversation, I'm not just going to cut it short. I'm going to keep talking. But yeah, generally speaking, it's around about, an hour.
And is there an interview style you believe in? Is there a style of interview or questions you ask? Is there a line of thought you work? So how do you prepare for a guest, and how do you evaluate that's how I want to frame my questions?
Sure, yeah.
And so what's the process like? A day out, an hour out, and 5 minutes out?
So a day out?
An hour out?
An hour out?
And 5 minutes out.
Okay. So I guess one of the intentions, I believe in God, and I think God has blessed us each with individual blessings, and I think the pod is one way I can help my audience see the light in this person. So that was always my core intention as well, along with that roller coaster. So we have a process. My Magic Mav, my ops manager, we will send out a few forms to fill out, but then we ask the guests to give us someone that knows them really well. So we've got 3 questions that we ask, because again, I want to just shine light on how incredible this person is, because I think as business owners, we're so focused on serving everyone else because it's a calling on your life, right? we're so focused on trying to serve everyone else, we sometimes forget how great we're actually doing. And no, we don't stop and just actually literally look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I love you. I'm proud of you. I did that for a while. It was awkward. Anyway, so we have these 3 questions that get filled out. It's asking the person, they're quite intimate questions of, what has this person done that they would never speak about. So I then take that, I then set time aside. I usually prep a few days before because, again, if I prep like a month out, that same feeling and intention kind of gets lost. So sometimes it's not before, never mind. So I structure it in a way where it really sheds light on this person. And I really want to have a powerful intro because I find that sets the tone for the actual interview, or not the interview, sorry, for the conversation moving forward. So it's basically, whilst we want to highlight what the business owner does, it's about that journey and the human side of things. So an hour out, I'm usually frantically setting up my equipment with Zena, my bag. So we go to Horizon Digital. When I say we, me, myself, and I, we go to Horizon Digital. I set up obviously all the lighting and so forth. 5 minutes before. 5 minutes before, I usually pray before because I want to be intentional in what comes out of my mouth. The opportunity to have this person on my show, I don't take that lightly, and to really have a conversation that honors that person's life and honors my audience as well. So I usually will quickly run to the bathroom and pray. That's about 2 minutes out. Then I go back and then, we hit record and hit the ground running. And that's the first time I've shared that. Thanks, Dev. Now you know all my secrets.
Thank you for sharing.
That's okay.
So glad. In your last response, you talked about you believe in God.
Yeah.
And I would like to know that how is that relationship, whether it's faith/God, how has that evolved? Was that as part of growing up in your life? And because I think it's very critical, as you said, talked about that 2 minutes out, you pray. So I think it's very important for you. So we'd love to hear that story.
Yeah, so I was born into a Christian home. My parents are part of a Methodist church in South Africa. Dad plays guitar, so he was part of the church band, and Mom was in Sunday school. So God and faith has always been a part of my life. Went to Sunday school, went to church, got confirmed at 16. So I was christened as a baby. So it's always been there. There has been times in my life where I've tried to do life without God and I failed. Because again, like life can get really, really hard. And I think if we're only depending on ourselves or those around us for sometimes that miracle we want to see, it can be really, really hard. So I find God's always led me back to him in some way, shape or form. And I guess sometimes you just have those moments, right, where it's just, you can just feel like it's not just a normal moment that there's some other, I mean, this is maybe just me, but there's something else that's speaking volumes to you. And again, it might be through different signs, like, with the podcast starting, there was 3 different people who said the same thing. So again, I think God has different ways, and the universe, whatever that is for you, different ways of speaking to you. And I think a lot of us are blinded to those signs because our mind, especially if you don't believe, you might not be as open to seeing that. So God's a very big part of my life. There's been times in my life, we all go through those dips. And I think, just having that supernatural support, shall we say, has really helped me get through those. So, and incredible humans as well.
And I want to delve a bit more on that thought. Because the idea of praying and sitting down and expressing into the ether, how is that process for you individually? And because, the belief system works, the belief is that I am saying few words or praying and then putting out an intent out in the ether.
So are you asking how I implement it in my day?
How it has worked for you, and then how has that evolved? Has the whole idea of sitting down or meditating / praying evolved in your life?
Yeah, so I think growing up, obviously on a Sunday at church, that was very God focused. But then I would always pray before bedtime. But then sometimes you fall asleep mid prayer, because I was lying down. So I've now moved it to part of my morning routine where I'm in the right position to pray as part of my journaling process. And I think it also is a way to kind of be like within yourself. It's not a bit out there, but be within yourself, gather your thoughts, always give thanks first, and then, ask for whatever it is that you intending for. Yeah, so I bring that into my day, or if there's something big throughout the day that's happening, I always try and just, I was in the bathroom, I don't know why, I guess I could just stand there and pray and whatever, but it's also just trying to get away from everything and then just setting that time to, just ask God for strength or help me to honor this person's life and my audience's life by showing the best side of them in that, in the podcast or whatever it may be. Or to calm my nerves, because sometimes, if it's a speech that you're doing or a podcast or a presentation for a proposal, there's a lot of nerves associated with that. So I always just like to think God's got my back as I go into whatever it is that I'm about to do. Yeah.
And then has it helped in terms of your, delivery, confidence, showing up?
Yeah.
I think showing up is a big thing in different situations, different, there's always a good dynamics of every room. So every room is very different. The word I mean by room is, every situation is very different.
Sure.
You're meeting a client, you're meeting somebody for a coffee, or you're meeting a family. It's a different room. So how you show up, that presents or that tells what's your process like. So the inner process, if it's that structured and unstable and unstabilized for longer period, it shows that how has that inner process evolved.
Yes.
How you show up, that reflects of what the work.
Yeah. So you asked about my process.
Yes, your views broadly.
So to sit here and say that I just pray and then everything's fine would not be true, because I think I've met humans in my life that God's worked through that have taught me certain things to help me show up better. For example, like my mentor or my advisor, that's all one person, has taught me tools to help me be more confident, to deliver a big proposal. But I think God works through that person. So whilst, there's a few different facets to that, but that final moment is, please, God, give me the strength to deliver this appropriately or to be more confident. Yeah. It's kind of this different ways. I always think it's like God and the humans in your life that work together to help you get to that point, and I think sometimes people get disappointed when they don't see instant results, but it's always on God's time as well. I struggled with that. I still struggle with that because I'm impatient. But yeah, I think we're physical and we're spiritual. So I find having that kind of mix really helps me. So, there's times where I get a sweaty mo and I fail terribly. But if
because you're running so long.
No, that's in a podcast. But if you don't put yourself out there and just freaking give it a go, how are you going to find out?
I have enough bad idea.
Yeah, great. Go for it. I love bad ideas.
Podcast on the go.
Yeah.
As in you can clip a microphone on you, and which means people only can survive an hour worth of conversation, which you want to do.
Yeah, whilst running.
Our marathoners. People.
Oh my goodness.
And that'll be fun. Huffing and puffing and talking while you're running.
I might do that. Maybe not a marathon though. Maybe like a
walk.
Maybe a 10K.
10K, yes. So I think it's a good, probably a different conversation you might have.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thanks,
I won't do that.
Are you up for it?
I had to start preparing for that.
Yeah.
But I have, as in across my career and the way I think has been strongly impacted by people who are mentors to me.
Yes.
And I have sought for mentors every journey of my life.
Right.
So I have a conscious practice. I always look out for another mentor, not a new mentor, another mentor. At any point in time, I have at least 4 or 5 people who I meet on a regular basis, and from a different aspect of my life,
right?
Of different conversations, and we have 3 to 6 hours worth of conversation. We might meet for an afternoon tea, and we end up having dinner,
right?
And then a bit of and go for a walk, something like that. Do you think what's the value for any small business owner or anybody who's trying to change every couple of years or evolve and driven? You need to have a calming force. You need to have a sounding board. You need to have somebody around. What's the value of mentors around you, and why should one look for them or have them in life?
Yeah, so I think when you find the right one, it's priceless. There's a lot of, I'm going to say fakes out there, who haven't got that life experience, who haven't got that business experience. So before you do engage a mentor, advisor, coach, anything along those lines, always do research, like find out, work with someone who's been where you want to go. But the impact on my life, I mean, again, a coach, a mentor can give you the tools, and it goes back to you to do the hard yards, right? But again, if the advice is not correct, it's not going to work. But also the advice might be correct, but you don't do the hard work. So there's that relationship between the two. It's had a huge impact on my life. It's been major. I've always, when I started my business, I thought it would just be myself. Working with my first business coach opened up my mind to having a team, to having systems in my business. She had a very different approach to what Paul has, say, for example. And then, again, I hit a bit of a ceiling with her, and she always said, Trace, you're going to hit a ceiling. It's fine. It is what it is. Like you said, you've got different mentors or coaches for different parts of your life. And hit a ceiling with her. That was the November 21, which was kind of the time in my life where there was a lot of big change. And then I met Paul literally a week later, and then started working with him the following year. And I think working with Paul has really made me a better leader, a better human, and a better business owner. So it's been an incredible journey. Like, again, I've done the hard yards, but just someone who has been, they've got the war scars, they've been through everything, so they can give you advice based on their experience. It's really changed my life.
I always have believed in this idea of, you can't be a good leader if you can't be a good follower. And how would have that play? If have you observed that in your life? Do you think that has that been true or not true in your life?
So the concept is you can't be a good leader if you can't be a good follower.
Yeah.
Where does that come from, if I can ask?
No,
That's what you believe, right?
I think it works for me, because to be a leader, before you become a leader, to take that position.
Sure, yeah, makes sense.
You start learning how to follow. Once you follow the right ones, and then you build that capacity to be a leader.
Got it.
Nobody's born leader. You just understand how to follow.
Sure.
And then it's on your own journey. It's a matter of time, and you become a good leader.
Yes. So in that, I guess, having a mentor, you do kind of follow, you follow in that leader at that time, and then it kind of helps you elevate into, like, if I think of the person I was when I first started Design Studio Perth, like, my core is still there, but I'm very different. I'm a very different Tracy, probably grown a lot, got a few more war scars. So you do become...
Sore heels.
Yes, a lot more shoes as well. So you do... It's a journey where you do become quite a different person, and how your perspective on things change. So, I think it's through that following. You're going through quite a transformation while you are following, but then you also, like, you're leading your team. So whilst you are following someone, you're leading your team, and they're kind of following you, So it's a transformational journey that one goes through as you're a leader and as you follow. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. And in terms of the toolkits, of that, somebody who wants to change. Not everybody wants to change.
Yeah, true.
So it's in a purely personal choice. But in a toolkit of personal evolution, that I want to be different, I want to change, and I want to be. I don't know what I'll be end up when I'm turned 85.
Yeah.
But I know what I can see is for the next 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
That's my next target for myself. So what's that toolkit looks like? What's in the toolkit? To work consistently, consciously, putting time and effort to work on yourself.
So drive's a big one. I've always been very, very driven. I did a predictive index thing that was like past the word drive. So I've definitely got drive. I've got a lot of passions in that toolkit. I think reflection has become a great tool for me. I'm still learning. So when something happens, I like to sit with my journal and kind of reflect, well, how could I have shown up better? So reflection is a big one. And I hope I'm answering your question correctly. What else is in there? Resilience and grit. That's a big one. I think, like I said, having that, being mindful that you're a human. So there are times where you are going to fail, and that's fine. So that's why that resilience is very big. And again, I hope I'm answering your question correctly. What else is in my toolkit? What else would be in there? Let me give some thought. Determination. Also to listen. I have a problem where I like to talk a lot and I don't listen enough. So sometimes I literally have to tell myself, Tracy, just stop and listen to what the person is saying. Again, God bless Paul. I'm often in my jar and I can't see the label. And sometimes someone will try and show me a different way. And that jar's got a very tight lid on. So I do try and step outside that. And then I will think about what the person has said. So just getting out of your own head sometimes. I'm an overthinker. I think a lot. And just thinking about, well, so-and-so said this. If something does trigger me, I'm usually like, well, there's probably a certain percentage of truth to that. That's why it's triggering me. So again, in my morning routine, I will say, so-and-so said this, ChatGPT, my new friend. Why might this be triggering me? And then it gives me a bit of insight into why I might be acting in a certain way. And I can curve that because I now know, well, that's a response because of this happening, but now you've got the ability to change it. So again, if you just keep doing the same thing, it's not going to drive any different results. So yeah.
Lovely. And that was, I think you do very good segues. I don't know how you can read my next question in my head and you give me good segues.
By the way.
You've done this before. In the toolkit of a business owner or somebody who are growing faster and growing from size to size, and organizations are embracing the idea of AI, using different tools, different large language models. Everybody's in a different phase of maturity of playing and prompting with the tools. How much they are scared, not scared, privacy, how much data do you give, not give, do you do it locally, do you on the cloud, all of that. But on balance, what have you observed in terms of the usage? How are you using AI in your own personal business? Plus, what have you observed in your fellow circles?
So I think AI is an incredible tool. It's amazing, right? So we use it as a tool. We are a custom branding agency, so we still have that human element at the end of the day. And if we go and plug the same stuff into ChatGPT, well, all our clients are going to start looking they're going to look and sound very, very similar. So it's a productivity tool. It's great for, brainstorming, generation of ideas, but again, it still needs that human element to drive it in a different direction. I think the one downfall is that it's moving business owners into a space even more so to underestimate the power of great design and great messaging. Again, so many people have access to it. So if you plug it in, like the likelihood is that someone else is probably getting that same message. So my concern is that are we all going to become diluted eventually? Maybe it will get to a stage where it can sort of be a bit more custom. But yeah, the one more so is I think just great design is becoming underestimated. It's a powerful tool. If you're a business owner who wants to, charge a very high price point, but then you're sending out a Word doc, well, that's not branded, it's just Arial font. There's a misalignment in what you're putting out there and what you're expecting, marketing universe, to give you back. So you have to think about what you're putting out there for you in terms of brand, in terms of marketing. Does it look and sound the way that it needs to in order to generate leads and help me grow my business? If I flick out a Word doc that's an Arial font, sure, the content might be great, but it's not, that perception doesn't align with my business. So again, brand is a pairing of various things. And I just think like with AI, whilst it's incredible and it's amazing and it's great to have those morning chats with, I just think it's kind of watering down like what a great designer or brand strategist actually is.
And in terms of when you're playing with AI, have you found any limits where it says it gives up on you? And what, if it has happened with you or not?
Just in terms of my own personal use for this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it glitches. What I did find fascinating, though, is like, because we all have catchphrases that we use, right? So it will, it starts to repeat those words back to you, which is really interesting because, again, you're kind of inputting info and then starts to sound a bit like you. But yes, every now and then it glitches out or it will say something that's not really relevant. So I think it's still being refined. Again, it's an incredible tool, but it's on its own journey, right? It's going through a process of using it. What was the other part of your question? Sorry, Dad?
In terms of when it gives up, as in, so when I was prompting for something.
Yes.
So I've given so many prompts and it's been probably an hour plus on ChatGPT, and I've been just prompting, and it starts not doing. So I've been telling, do this, add this to the document. It's not adding.
Got
then
it.
I tell the tool, say, oh, you haven't done that. I said, I'm so sorry, you haven't done that. And do it again, do it again.
No, so glitches.
Like a normal human, they want to do it.
Pretty
so
much.
They give up on you and they say, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, sometimes I'll just shut it down and then reload it. And then sometimes it works, but sometimes it is a bit limited in that regard. So,
Okay. So what's the advice your clients are getting in terms of using AI for not just marketing and branding, but for daily productivity activities? How effectively they're using it?
Yes, of course, we always advise that it's a tool. If you are going to use it to, I guess, generate your own content in any way, shape or form, have a strong brand messaging toolkit that's going to help, we call it chatty, generate content that's aligned with your brand. So if we break it down just to the very simplest forms, your words and your visuals, I think in terms of design it's still quite basic, but in terms of your messaging, like if you've got your core components of your messaging strategy, plug that in. And at least when you say, write a short punchy post, for whatever it is, it's going to pull from that framework. So I think with the paid version or pro, you can actually set your, we call it brand compass. You can set it in there, but then it'll write the content for you. But again, what we've noticed is that it will sometimes just regurgitate the same stuff. So just be mindful that when you are using it, and it loves dashes, as we all know, it does kind of generate the same thing. So always just be mindful, read it, have a look. Does this say, back to intention, does it say what I want it to say?
In terms of, do you think there's a use case of having a localized language model for your business, and that language model being trained on the way your business thinks or your organization thinks and plays with?
For my business in particular?
Yeah,
for any business owner?
Any business. For example, somebody wants to have, want to create a language model which is in-house, which is not on the cloud.
Yeah.
And train the language model on your policies, procedures, the way you respond to queries, the way you draft proposals, the way the whole life cycle of sales or any process, and train the model, and then that can be used with the larger employees.
Yeah, so of course there's merit in that. It will save a lot of time. Again, you have to input the right info. You have to train it in order to get the best output. It's a productivity tool. It saves a lot of time. instead of Jane from accounts, whatever, trying to sit there, write an email that takes 3 hours, you can, if it's got
Jane Austen from accounts.
Yeah, Jane Austen. Yeah, definitely. So I'm generalizing. If it's got that, if the input's great, you're going to get great output. So yeah, definitely it's beneficial.
On personal branding, how much content is too much content and how much content is enough content to be published?
Right.
Personal professional branding, which is, on LinkedIn. So how do you see that?
Sure.
And if the intention is to be seen as a subject matter expert in specific category or line of work, so how do you define content creation and publishing, and then and the style of content?
Sure. So in terms of your online presence, again, it goes back to intention. So online presence helps you build profile, that credibility. In terms of if you want to generate leads, that's somewhat a different strategy. But if you do want to be seen as a thought leader, you want to lead the way, you just want to be the Bunnings or whatever space it is that you sit in, you do have to show up on a regular basis. So again, going back to intention, having a plan, strategy. I know that word gets overused so many times, but taking we would call a brand compass for personal brand business, and then sitting down and saying, right, these are my content pillars, whatever it is that you want to call them. These are the things I want to be known for. So branding, I'm just going to use myself as an example, branding, podcasting, and fitness, for example. So whenever I go and do any content, I'm going to speak around those pillars. And then doing a content plan. So instead of, a lot of business owners will sit in 3 hours of haphazardness and trying to just post whatever, and they're thinking, what do I post today? So I think to get really true traction, you need to at least post once a day. Some, I think Alex Mosey posts 2 or 3 times. Again, it depends on, I guess, where your profile's kind of at, because everything in business compounds. So if you're only posting once a quarter, nothing's going to happen. You may as well not bother. But you do need to, if you want to be seen as a thought leader, as I mentioned before, you do need to post at least once a day, I would say. If you just want to, you know, sort of slowly, if you're happy, like, I guess what I'm saying is if you don't want to, you're quite happy with steady flow, like maybe twice a week is fine. But if you do want to lead, if you think of big brands, they don't hold back. They're everywhere. They're across TikTok, YouTube. They use every platform. I'm not saying do that. Of course, think about where your ideal client sits. So if it's LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, we often recommend to our clients, like so say your ideal clients on LinkedIn, your strategy is for LinkedIn. But in saying that, it's always also good to have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, and those two plug in together. So you're literally just taking that same content and putting it on there. Now, if you've got two different ideal clients, one's on LinkedIn, one's on Facebook, that's two different strategies. But I always say just rather have that presence, because you never know who might know someone who knows someone and they recommend you. And it's kind of like business is and not all. So yeah, again, having that, sorry, I've digressed a bit there, but having your content planner, being sure that you are always, this is from Ryan Serhant, so educate, entertain, and encourage. So sharing content along those lines, not asking for a sell. I think where a lot of business owners, personal brand goes wrong, we're constantly just shoving what we do down, you know, our audience's throat. But what things do you solve for this person, or how do you make their life easier, right? So speaking to that more, the symptoms they're experiencing. I guess, yeah, that would be to summarize, have your brand compass or whatever it is that you want to call it, your core foundation, your North Star, create a content calendar, get really clear on what it is, the topic that you want to be known for. With a personal brand, it's a nice way to kind of plug in a few different things. So for me, it's podcast, branding, and fitness. If it's your business, I'm going to just use Design Studio Perth, branding agency. We'll speak about, you know, designing a visual identity, so your logo and the importance of a style guide. And then we can speak about website development or content creation. So just having a plan, it's like a house, no foundation falls down. So having that foundation in place and then going to post from there.
Can I ask you to, in your observation on personal branding, which works very much in this sector of politics, it's purely a personal brand. It's not the party brand, but your own personal brand.
Yes.
And that's what people have been building since, you know, young person to be, if they have an idea they want to be in politics, and they keep building up on that brand.
Yes.
If you have to pick up a case study to pick up one politician, and if you want to talk about who have you observed you think has a good branding, not just Australian, anybody, whether born or alive, or alive or dead, not around, who do you think has a good personal brand?
In terms of a politician, I'll be honest, I do steer clear of this. I'd rather focus on my business, but I will try and give an answer. I think someone who...
It's a case study.
As a case study, let me give it some thought. So I think she's on her way out there, but Michelle Maynard, she's slowly, like, in terms of, she's not like, I guess, a full politician, but she's slowly getting there. I think she was part of Carbon Group, obviously now with her own home business. I think she's one that's slowly, like, really integrating the different parts of being human, of going down the politician journey. I had Matt Burney on the show. That was pretty cool. So just hearing his journey. I think the more we just plug that human side into whatever it is that we're trying to do, it just makes us so much more relatable. And, you know, yes, especially if you're a politician, you are put on a pedestal in some ways. But if you have that more human side, it almost makes you more, it makes you more relatable. It makes you more, people feel like they can also achieve whatever it is that person is doing. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes. In conclusion, I would like you to summarize the drive, the conviction, the resilience, the grit, the intention.
Yeah.
You all have all of that. In a human experience, you know, how has that human experience evolved for you? And what's your learnings to be that person?
Sure. So again, I think business will take you on a journey, and it impacts every single part of your life. And some of those are underestimated. You know, sometimes your closest circle doesn't, you know, they won't always be part of that journey. And I've experienced that. And that was really hard. But again, I think because when you feel like you've got this calling on your life, it's kind of just this, it's part of the process as it goes. Again, just being more mindful of the journey you're taking a client on, a podcast guest, even your own journey. Like I think we sometimes forget that as well, not being so hard on ourselves. Sometimes the worst critic of myself. So being mindful of that. Again, I go back to like these cliche things of life is so short. So when you do have time with someone or you have the opportunity to build a brand for them, what's going to set this person up to get the best result from that brand? How can I set up this podcast to give this person the best exposure, for example? So yeah, just being mindful of those core things. My drive, knowing when to stop, something I'm still mastering, because I love what I do. It doesn't, yes, there's hard times in that, but I love what I do. And being so driven, we sometimes set these big goals, so that will kind of keep you going at the same time. So just be mindful when to actually stop. So I'm having a bit of a break, end of August, just for a week, nothing crazy, because I don't want to lose that momentum. I think if you step out too long, you're just like, meh, no, I have to. That compounding effect, So yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, very much. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.